Hello friends, good morning. Again in this video I will be telling you or I will be narrating you the summarized version or a short version of Mountain and the Squirrel. Actually the poem is short only, so why I am saying short I don't know, but I will say that it is the interpretation or the summarized version of the poem. The poem Mountain and the Squirrel, written by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Ralph Waldo Emerson was an American philosopher and poet. He was born in Boston and educated at Harvard University. He became a pastor but resigned from the church after the death of his first wife. He traveled to England and came into close contact with the romantic poets like Wordsworth and Coleridge and the English prose writer Thomas Carlyle. Returning to America, he lectured extensively on philosophical topics regarding human life and was held in great respect all over the United States. His highly acclaimed first book, Nature, was published in 1836. He was the central figure of a group of writers and thinkers called the Transcendentalists. Later, he was actively involved in the anti-slavery campaign in America. Emerson was deeply interested in Eastern thought, and many of his poems show the influence of Oriental mysticism. The following poem, which I am going to analyze, is in the form of dialogue between Mountain and Squirrel. It shows that every creature, regardless of its size, is important in creation. Means nobody is larger and nobody is smaller. Everybody has a capability of his own, and he shows his potential according to his capabilities. Then the poem begins with the speaker describing how a mountain and a squirrel got into an argument. They are fighting over the squirrel's place in the forest. The majority of the lines are made up of squirrel doing what it can to convince the mountain that it is worthy of living there, even though it is smaller. Means this poem speaks on the strengths and weaknesses of two quarreling characters. The lines, we can say the first four lines: the mountain and the squirrel had a quarrel, and the former called the latter little prig. In the lines of this piece, the speaker begins by stating that the basic premise of the piece, of this poem, there is a mountain and a squirrel, and they got into a fight of some kind. It is easy enough to assume a setting for this piece, as the mountain is a location in itself. There are likely forests covering and surrounding it, and many places for the squirrel to live and hide. There are many places to live and hide for the squirrel. A reader should immediately notice that Emerson used the word quarrel to describe the fight. This makes it seem less serious than if he had chosen to actually say fight or argument. It is a temporary upset to their normally well-balanced relationship. The poem starts with what seems like an AABB rhyme scheme, but when the speaker gets to the fourth line and expects a rhyme for, later they get the word prig. Prig meaning here self-righteous or instead the speaker is relaying the insult used by the mountain to refer to the latter or the squirrel. Both of these characters have been heavily personified, so much so that they are able to speak to one another and interpret unwelcome actions. The choice to arrange the lines in this manner and surprise the reader with the hard G consonant gives further emphasis to the insult. It is disputing of what could be a pattern actually. What could be the pattern of the poem? In the following lines, like Burn replied, "You are doubtless very big, but all sorts of things and weather must be taken in together to make up a ear and a spear." This is in the fifth line, if you concentrate, the speaker uses bun to refer to the squirrel. It is replying to the mountain in a very clear and well spoken way. He selects his words carefully. The squirrel starts by acknowledging that the mountain is very big. It has a presence the squirrel cannot deny. Additionally, he adds that you, the mountain, are only one of many things which must be taken in together. The squirrel is attempting to set aside their differences and come to terms with the fact that they will not always get along. One cannot hope to live in peace with every type of being, sentient or not. These objects, creatures, and people all make up a year and a sphere. The world is constructed of the good and the bad. Both are equally necessary for life to go on. Though these lines, the squirrel appears to be in a conciliatory mood, means she wants to make balance, means she wants to end somewhere. She wants the reconciliation between the fight, but he is still the insulting the mountain. It is something that he must put up with. And then the line, if you see the line from 11 to 15, then I think it is no digress to occupy my place. If I am not so large as you are not so small as I, and not half so spry. Means in the next lines, the squirrel lays out his argument. The basis of the quarrel is also exposed here. It comes before here. What is the reason of their fight? He does not see anything wrong with his occupying of one place on the mountain. Just as the mountain is large with a large role to play, the squirrel is small with an equal role to play. Both must exist. Both has different capacities. Both have different potential. So both must exist, and they should show their strength, respective strength, whatever strength they have. Nobody is smaller and larger. In order to come to terms with the mountain, the squirrel lays out their respective advantages and disadvantages. First, that the mountain is much larger than he is, something he accepts as the truth. But the squirrel is much more spry. It can move quickly from place to place in a way the mountain never dreamed of. Means if we see towards the line 16 to 20, that I will not deny you make a very pretty squirrel track. Talents differ, all is well and wisely put. If I cannot carry forest on my back, neither can you crack a nut. This was the answer from the squirrel. Means everybody has different talent, and he is born with a different talent that God has given to him. Means everybody is God gifted with some talent and strength and the potential and the capabilities. So he continues in these lines, the same track in the set of lines. The squirrel is attempting to appease the mountain. He tries to making the mountain silent and peaceful while also showing his own advantages. They are equals in the world, if not in size, speed and abilities. First, he compliments the mountain. This is another slightly backhanded compliment, as the mountain is said to be a pretty squirrel track. The mountain is beautiful and a perfect place for a squirrel to roam. Means squirrel can wander on the mountain here and there in a winding and zigzag motion. He admits their talents are different. The mountain is able to carry forest on its back, but it cannot crack a nut. This is a answer given by a squirrel. Means he is having that potential that he can carry the forest on its back, but he has not the potential to crack the nut which the squirrel has. There is something about its inability to complete such a simple task that lends the ending of the poem a less than forgiving tone. It is clear the squirrel still holds a grudge or anger against the mountain for what a reader may assume was its attempt to drive the squirrel from its back. So on this note, the analysis of the poem ends here. So students, once again try to listen and understand. Again and again you listen and note down the words, whatever the words are difficult for you, and try to find out their meanings so that you can easily connect with the idea of the poem. There are some lines that you may not understand. Here the only message the poet wants to give is that that everybody is born with their own potential capabilities and abilities. So nobody should think that that person is not of his stature, because everybody has given different talents by God. So thank you. Please like, share and subscribe my channel.